Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Coons, one of the reference librarians at the Haverford Township Free Library. And first I want to apologize that I was not on the 5 o'clock wine and words tonight. I am having trouble with my internet connection and it was not going live because there was no connection apparently between my computer and the Facebook universe. So I apologize that nothing was there for you. But I thought I would make a recording and post it tonight at 7. And you can listen to it whenever you'd like, with the beverage of your choice, whenever. So, hello, hope everyone is well. And I'm recording, obviously, from my home. There's a lot of noise going on downstairs. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm hearing some things crash to the ground. But I hope everything's good. I don't hear anyone screaming, so... The selection I'd like to read tonight is from the April 13 issue of the New Yorker magazine, April 13, 2020 issue. And there is a piece called Dispatches from a Pandemic, Responses to the Coronavirus Crisis. And this is a selection of short essays written by a variety of writers. One of the selections I decided to read is by a writer named Karen Russell. In 2012, her book Swamplandia was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction. She's a novelist and short story writer. So her essay is called A Temporary Moment in Time. Shakespeare did his finest work under quarantine, I keep hearing. I wonder how the bard would regard today's craft hour in our apartment, which ended after 8 minutes. I Googled easy art projects anyone can do and selected DIY jellyfish. We forged ahead with the same delusional optimism that has fueled our recent pantry meals when we have 3 of a recipe's 12 ingredients. We had to improvise a little since our shopping list had prioritized diapers, medicine, Clorox wipes, gallon bags of dour legumes, and their party girl cousins' coffee beans. Of the many things I'd failed to foresee, a need for googly eyes, hole punchers, and vials of glitter. We wound up with a styrofoam coffee cup stabbed through with neon straws. "Mama, this is not a jellyfish," my 3-year-old son Oscar said with a preternaturally mature sorrow. We rarely watch the television, but on this first weekday morning of an eerily quiet Austin, Texas, we decided to keep it on, a portal to the wider world. Dr. Irwin Redlener from the National Center for Disaster Preparedness said on CNN, "We are so incredibly underprepared for a major onslaught to the hospitals, which is basically now inevitable. Shortages of ICU beds and ventilators, hospitals rationing gloves and masks." "Googly eyes," Oscar said, and I nodded. It took me 3 minutes to remember the word for the doctor's expression. Apoplectic. Homeschool lessons this morning have included Your Sister's Head is Not a Bongo. On the TV screen, the Surgeon General appears, begging Americans to keep their distance. This paradoxical message, we need to come together by staying apart, has galvanized a silence on the ordinarily festive streets of downtown Austin that tells a story in a whisper. Infected droplets are spreading through the air, and this is the new way we are caring for one another. I am touched and sometimes rattled by the children's innate faith in us. In recent weeks, I felt like a child myself, tuning in nightly to watch press briefings, hungry for reassurance and direction, eager to hear experts subtitle a novel reality for me. A press briefing is a story told in medias res, and even our most trusted experts, like Dr. Fauci, can narrate it only from their blinkered perspective in the present tense. Nobody yet knows how or when the COVID-19 pandemic ends. My son's questions are my own, and I have no answers. When will the germs go away? What will happen to the people with no homes? When can I see my Gaga, my Noni, my Papa, my Tia, my Lala? Limbo is a hard place to settle into, and describing the unknown to a newcomer is not easy. The CDC offers parents this guidance for talking to children. Avoid language that might blame others and lead to stigma. Be truthful and accurate. Fauci has good parenting advice as well. It's really, really tough because you have to be honest with the American public and you don't want to scare the hell out of them. My son accepts the answer, "I don't know," a lot more gracefully than I do. Speaking of Shakespeare, he was the minister who officiated marriages of words that have endured to this day, wares of metaphor that we still use when we go fishing for new truths, lines of poetry that nearly all English speakers repeat, as well as phrases so common we have forgotten their origin. Like, "that way madness lies," "wild goose chase," "into thin air," "lie low," "we have seen better days." Today we are witnessing the shotgun weddings of words into some strange unions, neologisms sped into existence by this virus. Quarantunes, quarantini, epidemiological vocabulary hitched together by Twitter hashtags. It seems like there is a parallel language contagion occurring. Self-isolation, social distancing, abundance of caution, pairs of words I'd never seen together in a sentence back in January, have become ubiquitous. These phrases are traveling even faster than the virus, eye to mind, ear to mouth, disseminated by our iPhone screens and televisions. Community spread may be my least favorite on the COVID-19 vocabulary list. It makes me picture a local theater company with terrible British accents sneezing onto the audience, nudists rolling like seals on a checkered picnic blanket. That's a you problem, my husband says. Fair enough. Language is everywhere these days, and humans seem to have less and less to do with it. Are there English majors chained under the earth forced to write these lines, or did an algorithm of some kind generate them? The mad libs of the press releases and public statements, with an unholiness of fiscal reassurance, with a cornucopia of dread, with a punch bowl of amnesia, with an oil barrel of greedy optimism, with an IV drip of information, with a loneliness of symptoms, with a paucity of masks, with an embarrassment of #quarantine memes. Of the language generalized by this new virus, flatten the curve is the 3-word spell I find most useful. Flatten the curve is a night-blooming locution that seemed to appear in everyone's mental backyard at the same time. There it was, right when we needed it, a phrase to recast the stakes of the pandemic after containment had failed and people needed a way to understand both the tsunami-like horror and the hope prompting measures like statewide mandates to stay indoors. Flatten the curve caused a paradigm shift for me. It taught me, in 3 words, to stop thinking of myself as a potential victim of COVID-19 and to start thinking of myself as a vector for contagion. It alchemizes fear into action. The phrase is an injunction. It says gently and urgently that it is not too late for us to change the shape of this story. Quiet is disquieting on the streets of downtown Austin. For 2 hours, I drag my son behind me in his black wagon. He is holding his magic, a bamboo stick, singing a nonsense song. I feel like we are staging a G-rated remake of Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Maybe PG-13, since the public bathroom is closed, and after an accident my son is now pantsless. On a distant hill, a tiny silhouette appears, gliding on air, a boy on a scooter. My son begins waving frantically like a marooned sailor spotting the rescue chopper. "Hey, kid!" But the boy's mother sees us and leads him in the opposite direction. "No kids," my son says, bewildered and then resigned. I sit between 2 large rocks, eating sunshine with him. A lizard does push-ups. 2 sunburned white guys in their 60s stroll by chatting about the secrets they keep from their wives. "Hey, nice to have a big guy with you at a time like this," one of them says, patting my son on the back. I freeze, say nothing. A mother and her 4-year-old daughter join us. We keep accidentally closing the gap between our bodies and apologizing. Our kids want to play chase. No, we say. My son, who has an extraordinary legal mind, suggests a loophole. Can they run next to each other? We won't catch each other, he promises. The other mother coughs and apologizes. Almost balletically, we separate the children. My son follows without a peep of protest, a docility that frightens me, as whatever my face is doing seems to be frightening him. A few months ago, in this same park, I'd look skyward at this hour to clock the moment when a great scattering of starlings begins to wheel as one. Called murmurations, these flocks gather in the purple Texas dusk, spiky iridescent birds that stitch themselves into a single animate cloud. Starlings are an invasive species. In 1890, a Shakespeare enthusiast released 60 starlings into Central Park as part of a whimsical mission to introduce to North America every bird ever mentioned in Shakespeare's works. Today, we have 200 million. These enormous flocks can execute sharp turns and vortical spins with a magical feeling coordination. 1,000 starlings bunch into a living fist over the trees, relax westward, sheer away behind the eastern skyscrapers. With a kind of muscular clairvoyance, each bird seems to anticipate the movements of the others. What is deciding them? What permits 1,000 autonomous actors to move as one body at these unbelievable speeds? A recent study described how these birds are able to, quote, manage uncertainty in consensus. Flocks of starlings exhibit a remarkable ability to maintain cohesion as a group in highly uncertain environments and with limited noisy information. End quote. Rolling the stroller down the hill, I wave to strangers on their porches. Wind chimes cast their melancholy spell as the skyline turns into a pink Stonehenge. 2 boys are dribbling a basketball in the growing dark, their tiny eyes peering out from a garage. Nobody crosses the 6-foot barrier. You might argue that humans have never been less like a flock than at this moment of voluntary isolation. But I also feel that our stasis is itself a kind of secret flight. Externally, we are all separating from public spaces, canceling weddings and graduations, retreating into our homes. This physical separation belies what is happening on another plane. People are responding to the crisis with a surprising unity. More swiftly than I would have thought possible, hundreds of millions are heeding a difficult call to stay home. It's a way of soaring into formation, and yet murmuration seems like the right word for the great convergence of humans traveling through this time together, listening to the latest news with our whole bodies, alert to subtle atmospheric changes, making constant recalibrations in response to the fluxing crisis at speeds to rival the dervishing starlings. How rapidly we are adjusting our behavior to protect one another. Karen Russell. Thank you for listening to me read. That's the end of today's Wine and Words. Thanks for joining me. Please stay well and safe and all that stuff. And I look forward to seeing you soon, whether virtually or 6 feet or more away somehow. All right. Bye-bye.